So just going to take a minute to introduce the panel a bit more. Dr. Antonio is a senior advisor for the industrial strategy in Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development. He has a PhD in artificial intelligence and joined several international and large initiatives in the EU and Asia as well. Welcome.
Thank you, Mark.
Dr. Dieter William Joenssen is the Executive Dean of Engineering and Technology at the HCT, which is the biggest education institution in the UAE. Dr. Dieter has worked in the past as a data scientist for big industry leaders such as Audi and PwC. He has a passion for cars, aviation, and space flight. So anything that goes fast, Dr. Dieter is our guy to ask today. And last but definitely not least, Dr. Haya is the Director of Strategy and Regulations at Abu Dhabi Maritime, the custodian and regulator of Abu Dhabi's waterways. So Dr. Haya has accrued extensive global presence. She's worked in Australia and she has handled mega projects in the UAE. Welcome again to everyone. And we're going to start a bit by talking about the macro environment. We have Dr. Antonio with us, which I believe gives us the best overview of what's going on as initiatives in Abu Dhabi and in UAE. We will then skew a bit towards more on what is the talent that is needed and what can we do to really empower the young local talent and the workforce in UAE to shift or cross-skill themselves and work in this rapid moving environment. So Dr. Antonio, in view of your role, what can you tell us about the different strategies in UAE and Abu Dhabi that is working towards the existing traditional ecosystem into a transformative, digitized one?
Thank you, Mark. Good afternoon, everyone. Within the Abu Dhabi Department of Economics, we have the Abu Dhabi Industrial Strategy that was launched in 2022, and which is aligned with the 300 billion strategy launched by Moyat, which aims to produce 300 billion by 2031. In Abu Dhabi, we are targeting the 172 billion by the time, as well as also 13,600 more skilled jobs that will serve the industry and the overall digitized market. The strategy has 6 main pillars. Such pillars span from the making more reliable, resilient the value chain, the homegrown products, addressing sustainability with the program of circular economy, but also increasing the productivity of our manufacturing sector and also smart city or smart urban mobility sector through programs like Industry 4.0 and the Industrial Park. The last 2 programs follow and is where I'm working more closely and more actively. The Industry 4.0, I really link this also to the urban mobility because many of the underlying enablers are also applicable to the urban mobility. In Industry 4.0, we speak is basically integration of multiple data sources. Urban mobility, if we move to urban mobility, we also need that multiple data sources needs to be integrated because interoperability and the ability of finding insights is the key to make a city more smarter, a city more reactive and proactive to everything can happen. The other program is the industrial talent, which we aim to upskill people. And all this is only possible if we be able to keep growing the ecosystem of IHLs, Institute of High Learnings, industry, private sector, governmental, all together with a one synchronized strategy. So this is what we are trying to push.
Perfect, Doctor. We will come back to talk a bit more about the talent initiative. But let me ask everyone, maybe starting by asking Dr. Peter. 300 billion on the table, a huge ambition, always wanting to lead in UAE or with all such initiatives. Bluntly speaking, do you believe the talent nowadays is already ready to undergo such initiatives, or we are in massive need of skilling, as in training or at university?
Well, I'd lie if I said I wasn't needed, right? So we believe at HCT that we need a different and more advanced form of looking at things and educating our students. No longer a traditional university sense, which is still needed, right? But maybe not for the whole population at large. We're looking at more competency-based learning, teaching students real-life skills and equipment to them, and also doing more hands-on industry-applied work in the form of perhaps apprenticeships, I would say, so that our students are ready to face the challenges as they are coming from industry right now.
Coming, I think, from a background of being in a training entity and maybe the biggest in UAE, it is imperative to say that there is no more of a traditional sense of upskilling nowadays. We're always going from accredited training, accredited diplomas. So whatever can add value to the CV or to the skills of the person that we are trying to upskill. So I know, Dr. Haya, you have an experience with this as well. Can you tell us a bit what you think about the readiness of the workforce and what are some of the steps that we should be maybe taking in the future?
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Manya. Thank you for the panelists. I mean, first I would like to define, when we talk about talent, what do we mean? Because we either talk about the talents that being prepared at university and education and institute, and there's the talent that they're driving the workforce now. I would like to say a high level, yes, they are prepared, but for the talents who are driving the workforce at the moment, it will cost us more to make them prepared. It will cost us time, money, and resources. Whereas the talent are being built at the moment at the university and education and institute, if we have the right planning, the right curriculum in place, they will be prepared with the least cost and time resources.
Excellent. Maybe we'll take it from there and go back to Dr. Antonio. Give us an example of what you're doing in your talent program, just to take a bit of an idea on what's on the ground.
One of the latest projects is to identify between 80 and 100 candidates and to upskill them in Industry 4.0 and sustainability topics in order to match the demands that will come soon. This upskilling doesn't have to direct only to the manufacturing, because the key skills that are needed also for urban mobility relies in IoT, in artificial intelligence, in data management, but also I think that there are some new skills that will be needed, like, for example, an ethical manager. Whoever thought about having an ethical manager in proper company? But this is becoming always more and more important. Why? There are multiple regulations that are trying to come out to manage artificial intelligence, which is not easy. But the ethical aspects is one of the key, making this software more trustworthy, because this software will have more and more responsibilities. Think about autonomous driving cars. Think about also the IoT capacity of sharing data between cars. This is the skills that need to be translated in the future workforce. They need to be able to make two machines, two eVTOLs, speak with each other to avoid accidents. Also, taking the control from humans. The time of reaction using 5G, I think, is between 6 to 10 milliseconds if something wrong is going to happen. The time of reaction of a human is 100 milliseconds. So think about two-car collisioning and how important is being reacting in much faster pace. I saw a video on Facebook, because unfortunately I also see Facebook before going to sleep. And it was an accident who happened in Corniche. It was a car distracted who turned left on the red lights. And another car coming from Emirati Palace just hit the car because the driver was distracted. Now, think about the ability of a car on learning the span attention of the driver, communicating with the coming car. This could have been avoided. It's not 100% sure, but in 2014, one of my first projects in MARC City was driving an i3 with the electroencephalogram on my head. I had like something 30 sensor, and the car was collecting all the data and all the information. Now, all the autonomous car with level 2 autonomous driving are able to tell you, please stop and get a coffee. So this is the phase where we are going. So, and we need people that does do this thing.
That's really beautiful and impactful as well. Dr. Dieter, Dr. Antonio spoke about an initiative for postgraduates or someone who has at least done their university studies. What are you doing at the higher colleges of technology, especially with the curricula? We heard maybe an hour back one of the renowned speakers here say, I don't think my degree is relevant anymore. We do know that everything is rapidly moving and changing. What are you doing at the college level, at the university level, to ensure that the curriculums are always up to date and just satisfies the workforce needs?
Okay, to Mark, that's a very easy question to answer. We're currently redesigning our curricula, not only to have more industry involvement, but also to be more flexible to react to what we like to call megatrends. So when we, for example, look at mechanical engineering, there's basic skill sets all engineers always need to have. And then there's a skill set that makes a mechanical engineer a mechanical engineer. And we think beyond that, there's a level that is open to innovation, that is driving what different disciplines mechanical engineers will be needed within the next 5 years. And in our curriculum, we went ahead and said, okay, we want to keep those basic elements. We want to have a stable engineer that, by all rights, can call himself an engineer. A mechanical engineer at that, because we still need that. And above that, we have concentrations added in the last year. Working together with industry in such specializations, that means new courses, capstone projects along AI, power and sustainability, and even mobility in a broader sense. Industry 4.0 would be another concentration that we offer, not only for mechanical engineering, but also mechatronics engineering. And bit by bit, we look at each and every single program on what are the core tenets, in addition to what does an engineer need, and then what are the trends that industry may need right now, but also may need in the future to have their workforce upskilled in. And I think, considering that it is only the last year where these concentrations come in, we also have the flexibility to offer a transition path for any students within the system that have already been studying 3 years to adjust to different concentrations as they may come up in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. So I think that is quite an innovation which helps our students that graduate help be relevant to the workforce.
Dr. Haya, I think you're interested in answering this as well. Let me play the devil's advocate. There is quite a bit of a distance always between academia and the industry itself. Having such discussions as Dr. Dieter is now saying is, I think, pivotal and vital to be able to accommodate everything Dr. Dieter mentioned. Do you think it's happening, and how do you envision this should go forward?
First, I would like to agree with Dr. Dieter is whether we like it or not, with all these technological advancements, students coming to universities still need to get the traditional learning, the foundational learning, for mechanical engineers, for scientists. You have to go through the foundational courses. However, when we do update or review our curriculum, it is much slower than the industry, because normally we do it, even if you want to do it for just one semester. So you have to do the curriculum, you have to run it for 1 semester, and then you have to measure your baseline and how much you have improved. Have you delivered your learning outcomes was as predicted or not? By that time, the industry has changed as well. So what we try to focus on at the moment is not what to add to the curriculum, rather, what skill sets do students need? And one of the most important skill sets they need now is the ability to gain knowledge. And this skill set helps the students when they are at the workplace, first, identify when they need to seek for a new knowledge, how to do that, how to upskill themselves, and how to put it in application. And this is so important because you can't keep sending workforce to training and courses, because the problem with introducing new technology to workforce, that you send the workforce for training of the application. So the end product of that technology. Whereas if they are involved in the knowledge gaining journey, the outcome is much more than being able to use the application. Now, coming back to your question, Mark, is it happening or not? I think it is, but it's not as wide as we would like to see it. I was involved at the University of Melbourne in reshaping the internship program because we've noticed that when we send engineering students to workplace for a couple of months for internship, there is still a lot of difficulties for them to blend in the work. So what we did is that we introduced a very unique internship program where students will have a certified academic mentor as well as an industry mentor throughout the 6 months or 4 months of training. With that, they were requested to attend leadership theoretical courses at school, at university. However, there was a twist where they were told the theory in class and they were asked to write personal reflection from work. For example, here's our leadership theory. I teach them about transformation, transactional leadership. Go to workplace, identify your boss there, put your own reflection, come back. We were educating them how I transfer theory to practice. What are the limitations, but also what are the empowerments? How can I use theory in place? And we measured our baseline and how much the students has improved after 6 months. And it was one of the most successful internship programs because the students were held by hand before they graduate. So they're not fully embedded at workplace, but they were given the opportunity to be able to understand knowledge, use it in practice, and come back and tell.
That's excellent.
May I add my 2 cents on this because I believe you just shared one of the best practice that we as a government would like to scale up in the overall Abu Dhabi. The strong collaboration between industry and academia is a key, is an essential key to make the workforce ready for the challenges that they will face that now they don't know. If the universities or IHLs, the industry with high earnings, will focus, for example, final year projects on challenges that are brought in by universities, by verticals, or by new trends that they are real actors, private sectors, they will touch with hands the translation of the theory that they studied into the real life application. Because until students will just develop something, a technology, a platform, which stands like on top of an idea and not on a real problem, there will always be this gap. If the dialogue is continuous, that is the perfect ecosystem. And we as a government would like to be enabler for such a dialogue.
Dr. Dieter, I know that this question is for you. So I have a bit of visibility on the strategic direction that the higher colleges of technology is taking. So the initiatives of apprenticeship, vocational training, internships, can you tell us a bit and just add to what Dr. Haya and Dr. Antonio said?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you, Antonio, because that's exactly what we're aiming to do at the higher colleges of technology. We want to build industry applied labs, the way we did it in Germany, right, with the universities of applied science, where the industry comes in and has a look at their problems with the experts that we provide, so the professors and the lab instructors and the lecturers, to solve their problems in labs that we have and are in the future to be co-financed by industry at large. So I think that is a great way of not only doing capstone projects with students in the final year to get in touch with students that know exactly how to solve your problems as an industry, as an employer, but also for further, more advanced, more continuous question and problem solving. So imagine a capstone project is in and of itself, of course, 1 semester or 2 semesters, together with the same student team, the same professor. But if you have personal continuity through a lab at a higher educational institution, it's not just 1 capstone, 2 capstones, 3 capstones, but it is an industry involvement and an deeper understanding of the problems that you face over many years to come. For some of these events. One thing I would like to weigh in, while I would really like everybody to be generally educated and know how to solve the problems of the future in a general way and then just apply them, I think there is a lot of space for people in a society that learn hands-on that know how to push the right buttons, so to say, that know how to do the wiring, that know how to service an engine. And I think it is very valid to think about integrating into education. Well, if you think about it, software, simple software programs, which industry use right now that have a high market penetration, so that when our students graduate, they're ready for the workforce and applying these technologies.
Allow me to ask one question to you and ask Dr. Hannah Sherwiz. I think that one of the challenges that exists between university and industry is given by the timeline, which is very important. Industry, they have a short timeline to get the ROI and they want immediately result. Sometimes, because I was in both worlds, sometimes universities take a little bit more relaxed time in delivering tangible results. Now, I'm not saying that one needs to adapt to the other, but there should be a way in the middle to make sure that this will happen. Otherwise, there will always be two different paths.
Very, very valid. I think we all work in government, corporate, etc. No one's allowing anyone to go for a training which is maybe more than 2 to 3 days. So coming from this angle, Dr. Haya, who do you think is responsible to cover the gap that we have just been talking about? Is it academia or is it, should it be an industry-driven initiatives that covers the gap?
So I think, can you hear me? So I think the gap still exists, and it will become bigger if the industry continuing with
that name
pace of technological advancement. However, the responsibility of bridging this gap is shared between
He's got
public,
about 50 names,
private
which
sector,
I'm not
and
doing.
university as well. So everyone has a responsibility
absolutely
to
no.
work
Do you want to take that off
bridging
the
that
stage?
gap. I'll give an example. In December,
Then you look better.
in December 18, 2023, Abu Dhabi Maritime has launched the Maritime Hub Abu Dhabi, المركز البحري Abu Dhabi. And the main aim of the center, which built on the pillars, create, collaborate, connect, and create, is actually to facilitate the discussion between public, private, and university to come together to talk about the maritime sector, address things like building talent within Abu Dhabi, within the maritime sector, what the challenges are, what can we do. So what we need is first, we need to connect with each other. We need to facilitate the discussion. We need to communicate. And something really important as well, whenever we're talking about talent developments, then we have to put commercial competition aside as well. It is so important. It's everybody's responsibility. It's not one university is trying to take other university intake. It's that we're trying to work together to ensure this has been covered or this has been taken. The other thing is that industry as well needs to come closer to academia with what your plans are, what your strategic directions are. How do you think? How do you build things together? What can you offer? So when we talk about our internship program, graduate programs, is there something else we can offer for the students to be able to be a skilled talent at the workplace when they are being prepared? Because, you know, when we send students for the internship programs or graduate programs, this is the golden time. This is where talents are actually being made and being built. So if it is just an exercise to tick the box that the student has been in an internship, then there's no talent with built. What I want is that I want industry partners to come to my university to contribute in building curriculum because they know what the landscape will look like. And I need flexibility in my curriculum as well to have industry partners, speakers, lecturers as well to ensure what happens at the workplace is not a surprise to students, as well as we as educators know where the industry is going in the next couple of years.
That's excellent. And I think this is a call for the industry because they have to be receptive to taking in those proper candidates and really giving them the time and the experience within the industry itself and not just ticking a box, as you said, just taking them in. Do you see, and this is a question for all, any emerging trends or technologies that the public, whether they are in the workforce now or youngsters just barely graduated, where should they focus on now? What are the biggest trends that, and we do have 3 more minutes. I know everybody would like to weigh in here. So just briefly.
I believe data management is a key. Embedded system is also a key. And embedded system are all those microchips you find in the sensors that are able to collect and share data. And I believe if we focus on open mobility, cloud computing, and it's also very important to enable the overall interoperability between all the multiple platforms like intelligent traffic system, mobility as a service, and autonomous car. So I believe these 3 might be relevant.
Anything you would like to add?
Well, as an ex-data scientist, which you never really
Dr.
lose,
Ishmael,
right?
that's it.
I would have to say AI.
That's what you're getting.
AI technologies and everything that enables us to run AI as an augmentation of our human being. However,
awful.
right? Coming from Germany,
I can't hide
I have
anymore.
to mention
Yeah, maybe
sustainability,
don't
right?
because you won't be able
Because
to read his name.
when we're talking about
Ever.
AI and what does AI help us to do, it helps us be more
Who's
efficient,
he?
right? More efficient in designing, more efficient in structuring, more efficient in you name it, right? To save energy, to save manufacturing costs, to make things lighter,
Really?
and to so not in any way,
But if you Google me,
like
you will
a tree
recognize
hugger
me
sort of
sometimes.
idea, but
No, because I
I think it's
straightened my
still,
hair. I was like,
at the heart of sustainability is something that we can take forward, and yeah. So I think
Brilliant.
that's one of those focus
better.
to be more efficient.
You don't want to get recognized.
I want to
I
add to
don't
the
know.
list because I think Dr. Antonio
Dr.
gave a
something.
very comprehensive list. What I want to do is I want to challenge the audience here. We're discussing how we're preparing talent for the futuristic workplace. I believe we're all in that futuristic workplace. When I first started university in 2004, as civil engineering students, the workplace looked nothing like what it is now. Look at how much we have adopted, you know. We've adopted at the different levels, at the different base into different technologies.
She studied in
So we
Australia.
are now in a futuristic
She's got
workplace.
a-
So we all survived, all right?
She's got a little twang.
And one of the basic things that what we had
I was trying to
traditional
figure it out.
learning and we had soft skills or life skills. So we need to keep in mind that students or the workplace do have the traditional learning and the skill needed
Mixed
to
with her
cope with their
lovely
futuristic
Arabic
workplace
accent.
the way we do.
Thank you. I'd like to thank all the panelists. What an exceptional event we are having here. It's truly a blessing to be living in the UAE, where I think advancements and just being a global leader has become more of a custom rather than a luxury. So thank you all for showing up. Thank you for the insightful conversation that we just had.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.